Welcome to Extraterrestrial Reality. You know, some of these aliens, they use clouds that you see floating around in the sky to hide in sometimes, apparently. Not only do they use clouds to hide in, but apparently they also make their own clouds to hide themselves in. Sometimes we don't know the reasons why. I mean, it seems like for one thing, they're able to make their craft and themselves somehow invisible at times. And they also are at times seen hiding in clouds, hiding their craft in clouds. It happens. I've seen a lot of different videos over the years and film of objects poking in and out of clouds. I mean, they're just planes are incapable of doing things like that. So helicopters. I mean, these things aren't helicopters. Helicopters are unable to move like these things that we see hiding inside a cloud sometimes. But there's some very interesting cases, and one of the cases we're going to talk about later involves some woman back in 1973 who saw some kind of a craft hovering near a tree near her home, but it was inside of some sort of a cloud at first. And apparently these beings generated that cloud themselves somehow. We don't understand why they do these things. Again, I mean, we can only speculate about like why do they make their craft invisible only sometimes? You would think that they would have them invisible at all times, but we don't know the reasons of why we could see them sometimes and why other times they make themselves invisible. But they do. That's what they do. I mean, we actually have proof that they can make themselves invisible. I mean, you just look at the Las Vegas alien case from 2023, the craft that came down in the backyard of the Kenmore family in Las Vegas during the late hours of April 30th and right before midnight. I mean, the craft became invisible the second it landed in the backyard, or not even sure if it landed. Maybe it was just hovering there. It was a hard landing apparently, but then the craft became invisible. And there's other cases like this too, where people I talked about. There was some old guy back in I think it was the early 90s or early 2000s. I think this was in England, where he was just walking his dog, and the next thing you know, a craft just materialized in the bushes, next to him, and he couldn't believe what he was seeing. And then it disappeared after a while. They make themselves invisible. They, for some reason, we don't know why, and they also hide themselves in clouds. And actually, let's start off. Here was something I found on Reddit. It says here, UFO seen flying out of clouds in slow motion video. Now, the person who posted this, Seven Greens, he writes this. He says, I randomly did a slow motion video of some clouds, and when I was reviewing it, this black circular craft comes out of the bottom of the right cloud formation and goes up, does a U-turn, then flies down and off screen to the right at insane speeds. I couldn't believe I caught this on video. This is slow motion video, so this whole clip took about 5 seconds to record, and it's 27 seconds long at 30 frames per second, meaning this thing was cruising. And it happened in Anchorage, Alaska, of August 7th, apparently, of either last year or the year before. It says, it was a year ago. So, let's play this video. I'm going to pull it up on the screen here. Now, here is the full frame. Now, for the people who are listening, I'm going to just play this little video here. And you can see clouds in the sky, and you're going to see an object flying straight up in this area off to the right here in a second. There it is right there, and now it's dropping, and then it's going to go off to the right. Now it's really hard to see, but we're going to do a close-up here in a second so you can see it better. Okay, here's a close-up. You're going to see this object going straight up into the cloud. There it is, right there, this little black dot, and then it comes swooping back down again, and then flies off to the right of the screen. There you go, see it flying away right there. Let's try it again. Here's a close-up of it again. You'll notice to the right here. There it goes. There's the object right there. I have my cursor. Now it's going down. It's hard to see it, but you'll notice there it goes flying off to the right of the screen. Now, what in the hell was that? And that guy was filming in slow motion, so that object, like he indicated, was moving very, 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 very quickly. More quickly than any sort of airplane or helicopter or anything that we have. Now, there are some people who are online claiming that this is an insect. I don't know about that. I don't know of any insects that do this. I mean, this thing looks like it flies straight up and then does like a nosedive going straight back down again. Like goes flying up through the cloud there. Now it looks like it comes back down and then just zips off. There it comes zipping down. It's really hard to see, but it's wow. To me that's not man-made kind of stuff, and I don't think it's an insect either. I don't think I've ever seen an insect behave that way. But who knows? It doesn't make me right. Again, this is just one example. This kind of stuff happens all the time. Sometimes there are things like this that happen right here. This was some people see clouds, these lenticular clouds. This was from the United Kingdom in December. This was reported in the United States Sun. It says this eerie UFO cloud shocks Brits as rare phenomenon lurks over United Kingdom town for 10 minutes before disappearing. And you can see this picture here that they have of this. It looks like a flying saucer. It's shaped like that, but it's a cloud. It's a lenticular cloud. Sometimes clouds take on the appearance of flying saucers or / NHI craft. Let's see what else we got here. Okay, now this was something. There was a series on the History Channel, Aliens in Alaska, and there was a pilot who had 3 people in his plane, and he was seeing some weird things near a volcano, near Mount Shushelden. And here was an article about that from the Mirror. And this happened actually, there was 2 different incidents. The first one involved the same pilot and 3 passengers, and they were flying near this volcano, and they saw this weird object or objects and clouds and stuff coming out of clouds, orbs, all kinds of weird things near this volcano in Alaska. And then 9 months later, when he was alone, the same pilot, he saw some other weird thing, some craft in a cloud. And they did an episode on this in this TV series, Aliens in Alaska, that was on the History Channel. And I'll leave a link for a clip so you could check it out. There's a clip from that, a segment from that episode. A cloud UFO in same spot after 9 months spooks pilots. And here's what the article says about this from the Mirror. It says, a pilot described an unexpected encounter he had in the sky with a mysterious object. Commercial pilot Theo Chesley has disclosed a spine-chilling encounter with an unidentified flying object near the towering Mount Shushelden in Alaska. With nearly 4 decades of flying experience, Chesley, previously a skeptic of extraterrestrial phenomena, recounted the inexplicable incident that transpired during a routine charter flight in late October of 2019. Chesley, who has accumulated over 15,000 hours of flight time, said that halfway through the flight to Dutch Harbor, he and his 3 passengers observed a disc-shaped object approximately 15 miles south of the volcano. The object, displaying almost perfect symmetry, morphed into a vertical position as they continued their trajectory. And he says, describing the encounter, Chesley told the History Channel, we knew something extraordinary was happening in front of us. The seasoned pilot stressed that this was unlike anything he had witnessed in his extensive career. Chesley observed a green sphere simultaneously appearing on the side of Mount Shushelden, accompanied by a disc with a distinctive tail or wisp. Seeking answers, researcher David Childress met with Chesley in Anchorage to examine the footage and discuss the perplexing event. And here was an image of one of the things that he saw near the volcano. But then sometime later, he experienced another bizarre incident a year later in 2020 in a different aircraft. Above the same volcano, he witnessed a massive cloud formation that morphed into various shapes. Chesley said, I look out my window and all of a sudden there's a huge cloud formation that came out of nowhere. He became concerned and switched to autopilot, but the aircraft veered inexplicably off course toward the mountain. Attempting to regain control, Chesley navigated through the strange craft only to face an autopilot malfunction seemingly influenced by an unusual magnetic pull. And so basically he saw this, he had this strange encounter with the passengers when he saw these weird objects hovering near the volcano. One of them was like in a cloud, and then the second time he saw this object again, like a cloud changing shapes. I mean, all kinds of weird things going on with clouds hanging around this volcano, like objects hanging, apparently hiding in cloud formations or making their own clouds. They're not really sure. I highly recommend that you check out that segment. I'll leave the link. It's on YouTube. You could check this segment out where this guy was talking about this, and you could see all the pictures and stuff that he took. He does have, there were images, but I don't want to show everything on here. I don't have the I don't want to get in trouble for copyright or anything like that. But as you can see, that these things, there's a lot of weird stuff involving clouds and UFOs. Like here's another incident, another strange thing. This is something I talked about before. This was an article in the Sun from 2024, last year, October. It says mothership eerie UFO cloud reappears in exact same spot over New Zealand mountain in bizarre phenomenon. Yeah, this goes back all the way to the 1890s. There's a picture here of this cloud that just hovers over this section of New Zealand that just is always there. Nobody, it's just a strange natural phenomena, but I don't think it has anything to do with aliens. But again, it's just something strange. But there are some times where people do see these things, like the first thing I was showing there, that could have been extraterrestrial / NHI. Here's a weird case from 2010. I found this one on Reddit. And it says here, this is a real photograph of a giant UFO hiding in clouds taken in 2010 in Chile. Scientists found that the orb in this image is 200 feet in size. It was taken by a family picnicking in the Andes Mountains in 2010. And then you could see here, this is a faraway shot of it. You could see the sun shining through the clouds, and there was this object sitting up here, or that circle is. Here's a close-up of it. You could see what is that? There's some sort of a big object there hiding up there inside the clouds. And if you want to learn more about this one, you could, I'll leave the links for everything here. You could click on this here. There's a scientific analysis done on this. And the scientist believes that there was most certainly something there. You could actually check out this whole 23-page photo analysis of these images on here that were taken in 2010 in Santiago, Chile, near the Andes Mountains. Obviously something hiding out in the clouds, as you could plainly see, and you could read the entire analysis if you're interested. But as you can see, this is just another case, one of the cases involving creatures, alien creatures apparently hiding themselves and their craft inside clouds for reasons unknown. Now, the story we're going to talk about next most certainly has to deal with NHI, and happened in 1973. 1973, by the way, was a major year for UFO events, I must say. And here was an article from the APRO Bulletin, the Aerial Phenomena Research Organization, which is now defunct. But that was one of the biggest and best UFO research groups that we ever had. And in 1973, they investigated this case here that happened in Duluth, Minnesota. And there was involved a woman here. They're only using her, they don't tell us what her last name is, only that it begins with an L. Mrs. Wallace L. was talking to her sister on she had met with one of the investigators from APRO, a Robert Young, and he interviewed this woman, this Mrs. Wallace L. And here's what the story is. She was talking to her sister on the telephone at about 11:15 p.m., and this was on October 7th, 1973. And when she got the feeling that something was going on outside, she heard what sounded like footsteps on her wooden porch and the noise of hands on her screen door. Although small children commonly make this type of noise at her door, she realized that it was too late at night for neighborhood children to be about. After hanging up the telephone, Mrs. L walked outside her porch and saw a brilliant, diffuse, silver-colored cloud of some sort about 5 feet above the tree in her backyard. She was struck by awe at what this hazy object could be. An extremely bright white spotlight shone from the cloud through the living room window of her neighbor's house. At this time, the occupants of that house were apparently asleep in their bedroom. Mrs. L noticed a number of effects of the object. Some nearby dogs were barking and yowling, and a kitten was seen darting from the yard to hide under a parked car. A mercury vapor street lamp immediately adjacent to the yard was blinking irregularly on and off, possibly indicating effects of the object upon the lamp's photocell. Mrs. L called out to a gentleman boarder in her house who, after seeing it, became frightened and returned inside. After about 15 minutes, the cloud began to dissipate, and Mrs. L could see the object itself, which was a domed disc with a glowing red bottom and about 10 legs or gear-like struts sticking downward from the rim. She estimated that the object's size to be about 3 feet in diameter. However, by comparing apparent size, a 45 RPM record at arm's length described by different witnesses, the object must have been about 15 to 20 feet in diameter. The woman claimed to have a definite feeling that the object knew what she was thinking. For instance, she could barely see something greenish near the top of the object. While she wondered what it was, the object promptly tilted toward her, showing that it was a glowing arm-like antenna. Although she admits it could have been her psychological reaction to it, she felt like she was under some type of control. For example, at one point she walked inside the house for no apparent reason. A few minutes later, Mrs. L decided to see how close she could approach it. When she got about 20 feet from the tree it was hovering over, she suddenly felt like she hit a wall and could see nothing but silver. Upon backing up, her sight returned, and when she walked forward, the same thing happened again. So she decided it was their way of telling me to keep a safe distance. Immediately thereafter, she returned to her house and called her neighbors adjacent to the yard and back, not the neighbor whose house had been illuminated. The neighbors she called were able to get outside and observe the object also and were interviewed by Mr. Young. After the three of them watched the object for a couple of minutes, it shot around to the other side of the neighbor's house, then returned to the original position above the tree. At about 12:15 a.m., the object zoomed straight up and momentarily left a hole in the overcast. The next morning, Mrs. L claimed for some reason she had forgotten the entire incident. However, after her neighbor called her, she remembered what had happened and noticed that her eyes ached. Okay, now there's a lot of things to unpack here. Now, for one thing, let's start with what happened the next morning. Okay, she forgot about what happened. Now, how could you forget? Then this is something that we talk about all the time. Sometimes people have these really incredible experiences. For instance, Bruce Maccabee's wife, back in 2010, when she was out bow hunting near their property, and she was in the forest, and she's up in a tree, and next thing you know, she sees this weird creature that was apparently using some sort of cloaking technology to hide itself, but she snapped a picture of it. The picture didn't turn out well. It was, for some reason, 66% of the pixels were not there, similarly to how some of the imagery from the Vegas case turned out. In the video, 66% of the pixels were missing for some reason. Actually, the picture that she took, it came out in a resolution, an impossible resolution, one that the camera didn't offer, and it was 66% less than what the highest resolution of the camera had on offer. So very strange, and I think there's a connection there. I've talked about that before, between that whatever's going on there and with the Vegas case. For some reason, 66%, that seems to be they're able to hide themselves somehow by, when someone tries to film them, by reducing the pixel number by 66% somehow. We don't know how they're doing that either. But it's similar. The next day, she forgot about it. Or actually later on, when she got home, she forgot about it. She forgot to mention anything about it until later on, their nephew or grandson or something, who was at band practice at the same time while she was out hunting, they all saw a UFO. And when he called up to let them know about that, that's when she remembered. So that kind of thing happens all the time. So that was weird. And then the other thing I thought was interesting was the fact that this article, of course, this is 1973, and it says here that the object zoomed straight up and momentarily left a hole in the overcast. That's the same thing that happened back in 2006 in Chicago, in the Chicago O'Hare UFO. The witnesses to that incident said when the flying saucer took off, they saw this huge flying saucer hovering out over the airport. When it took off, it poked a hole in the clouds, and you could see the hole in the cloud there. And the same thing happened here back in 1973 when this object took off. And for some reason, it was hiding itself in a cloud. Obviously, what happened here, it seemed like it might have been generating its own cloud, its own camouflage for whatever reason. Who knows? Apparently, it was shining lights on a different house there. For all anybody knows, the people in that other house, the one that the woman didn't call, that Mrs. L didn't contact, not the neighbors that she didn't call, she called different neighbors. Those people could have been in the process of getting abducted by these beings. So that's what it seems like. They use clouds to hide themselves in, real clouds it seems, and they also generate their own artificial clouds. Like right now, I could create my own cloud and right over my head here. I see. See, now you can't see me. You can't see my face because I have a fake, phony cloud. I just generated using special effects later on and during the editing process. I created a fake, phony cloud and have it hovering right in front of my face so you can't see me. I'm hiding inside the cloud. You can see other stuff around me, right? But you can't see my face because I'm using a cloud to hide in. And I think that these beings, obviously, they're using it. I guess it's you use what you can. I mean, you don't want to be seen. You want to, you want to play games with the human race. Sometimes play hide and seek. Sometimes you'll see videos where these objects are poking in and out, poking out of a cloud and going back in, almost like they're doing it on purpose to, as showing off or something. I mean, who knows? Who knows what the reason is why they do it? But they do it. They do it. So all these, when you're driving down the highway and you see a whole bunch of, it's a nice blue sky kind of day with a bunch of fluffy white clouds floating around, you have to ask yourself questions like, I wonder if any of these clouds contains a hidden UFO with alien creatures in it. Because they might. Some of those clouds you're looking at might include that. Because they like to use clouds to hide in for some purpose, for some reason, even though they have the ability to make themselves invisible as well. Who knows? Maybe the reason that they don't make themselves invisible all the time because it takes up too much power to do that, and maybe that's the reason. So they're just trying to conserve energy, and so sometimes they just say, let them see us for the next half hour. We'll make ourselves invisible later on. Who knows? This is all speculation. But I just wanted to point out the fact that, yeah, there's these beings here. They like to hide in clouds sometimes. Okay, now moving on, I just want to talk about some of the comments I received recently for the previous episode. I did an episode about mystery. The title was called Mystery Objects Captured on Florida Beach Webcam. And in that episode, I talked about, I had received I had received an email from one of my subscribers telling me about how there were... in this webcam for this beach in Florida. It was this Fort Pierce Beach webcam. This person films, makes screen captures the webcam that this beach uses on its internet site because the person's interested in orbs and drones and is hoping to catch something, on that beach flying around. And the person did catch something, and I asked everyone, what they thought of that stuff. And I got a lot of messages back. Most people are saying they think it was bugs or something to that effect. Here was a comment from Baritone Uke Beast for Life says, so here's my take on the two videos and the article. The first video to me appears to be some kind of insect flying through the air in front of the camera, and the camera is recording the images too slowly and with very little light, so the insect appears to have that strange stretched out shape. Yeah, the first image that in the first video in that Florida Beach webcam video, you can see some kind of a lighted object going across the screen. Baritone Uke Beast for Life is saying that he thinks that's an insect. A lot of other people have said the same thing. And then with regard to the second object, he said the second object in that video that appears right afterward, coming from the top left to the bottom right, seems to be a real solid object that is illuminated, but the camera does glitch out as the object has the entire right side of it blacked out and very pixelated, almost as if it was being censored or redacted in real time. Odd. Yeah, now the second image, the person who alerted me to this indicated that they thought it was some sort of a fish kind of a creature. I don't know. You couldn't really tell. It looked like it could have been a camera glitch. Anyway, and then then there was another video that we talked about where some people thought it was from a cruise ship. And in the Gulf of Mexico, was just filmed recently. Some people were filming and they saw this, what they thought was a UFO go diving into the water. Some people said they think it's a UFO. Other people thought it could be a bird, like a seagull or something, and it was diving into the water to capture prey. Let's see what the person says about that. He says, the second video of the object that in that one frame looks exactly like a bird diving into the water, does in fact appear to be just that. I find it hard to believe it to be anything else with that shape except for one strange fact that nobody is mentioning. Why am I the only one who notices that the object is self-illuminated in a completely dark night sky? It does look like it dived underwater, and there is definitely a bright light moving under the water. I guess everybody that says it is definitely a bird must also believe that birds are self-luminescent like fireflies. Why is nobody else discussing that the object, if it is a bird, is glowing? Now, some people have talked about this on Reddit, and they stated that the thing that the lights from the ship were causing the bird to look like it was glowing. I don't know. I don't know. Okay, and then the third thing we were talking about, there was an article from Sweden from 1987 that we were talking about, where these people saw this really weird creature in their backyard. It was only 4 inches tall, and it was no bigger than a clenched fist, and it looked like this. I have an image on the screen right now. I thought maybe it could have been a slug. That's what I thought it might have been. This person, however, says the article from 1987 in Sweden I find very odd but familiar, as I have heard many similar stories and sighting of the Fae folk that people have been reporting in the United Kingdom for generations. Just as odd and very much like what this woman described here. I do not believe for a second that what she saw was a slug. That is just silly. So my idea that it could be a slug is silly. I will say this: her description about her thought that it looked like an old-style sheet ghost hit a nerve for me. When I was around 13, I had seen what I now believe must have been a gray floating in front of my window at night. My younger brother was in the bottom bunk of our bed, and he screamed that there was something staring at him in the window by the foot of our bed. This was around 10 at night, and we had just got into bed and had not had time to fall asleep yet. When I sat up and looked at the window, I saw something I couldn't understand. It looked to me to be like a white sheet ghost from an old movie or kid's cartoon. All I could make out was it had a large head with large black eyes, and its head and body were all white. It appeared to glow like a stereotypical ghost and was about 4 feet tall and was floating in front of our window. It was just staring at us. I screamed for my mother, who was down the hall in the bathroom. She ignored me, which was extremely unlike her, as she was an overprotective mom. I had to climb out of bed and go get her. I was too afraid to go to the window. I told my brother it would be okay and I would be right back with Mom. The bathroom was only about 7 feet down the hall. My mom was in a trance-like state and was looking in the mirror and brushing her teeth. She did not acknowledge me at all, even when I was grabbing her arm and trying to shake her out of it and pull her toward my bedroom. After a while, she told me everything is okay, but she continued to stare at herself in the mirror and brush her teeth. It was really creepy and infuriating. Eventually, after what felt like 10 minutes, she snapped out of it and acted disoriented. She came with me to the bedroom, but by that time the creature had left, which really angered me that she didn't get a chance to see the creature with her own eyes and do something about it. By that point, my brother was much calmer and just wanted to go to sleep. I have this vague memory of missing time and being confused that it was over an hour or two later when I returned to my bedroom with my mom in tow. So that was a weird story for sure. So that's why he thinks that maybe that woman, it wasn't a slug. She was seeing some kind of a weird creature in Sweden back in 1987. Now, there was another guy who took great offense to this last podcast. He didn't like the idea that I was putting up possibly things that had prosaic explanations. And this was a guy from Texas, that Texas dude, and he says, "This is too much bull crap already, man." He was mad about it. Too much bull crap. Of course, I did make a point toward the end of it that, hey, don't be upset. There's no reason to be upset because we have the absolute proof. I mean, just because some things don't turn out to be the real deal doesn't mean that all is lost, because we already have the absolute proof in the bag. We have it. It's already a done deal. Done. It's over. Way over. Actually, right now we're approaching the year anniversary. Believe this, April 2nd is coming up real quick here. April 2nd, I'm going to have a special show that day, because that's going to be the first anniversary of Vindication Day. Vindication Day, when we were able to present the absolute proof on this show with Scott Roeder. Yeah, it's coming. The first year anniversary. Okay, let's see what else. Who else had comments here? Heather Obsession says she's thinking it was a bird for that second video. The first video, she thought it was a bug or something. Hex Nottingham says, in video number 1, the first anomaly looks like a small bug flying by. The second anomaly in video 1 looks like a big bee flying toward the camera, but only while it's in motion. I can't make it out frame by frame. I could be completely wrong, of course. In video 2, this is the this is the one where a lot of people thought it was a bird. This is from the film from the cruise ship. He said it only looks like a bird in that single frame, almost unquestionably. The problem lies in the 2 frames immediately preceding and following it that make the apparent wings look like more a band of mist or smoke the anomaly is passing through. So some people are not sure. It does look like a bird, like to me, like there was a couple of frames there, like I pointed out in that previous show, where it does most certainly look like a bird that's about that open up its wings and it's about to swoop down. But at the same time, I'm just not sure. But I'm leaning still toward bird on that second video. The first one, I'm not sure of. In the first video, there's 2 things. Okay, there's 2 objects. There's the first thing that could be an insect, could be a firefly or something like people said. The second thing, it could be a computer glitch or it could be something else we just don't know. None of these things we don't know. We can never say for sure ever. Noah Guy 914 says, come on, these are insects. Rods are insects that cameras can't catch because they are so small and moving too fast. So they come out on camera looking like that. We have to be able to call these out right away and separate these from the rest of the stuff. Yeah, I mean, they're not as exciting as some of the other things that we've been showing on here, but we do have exciting things to talk about. We really do. Alan Hedrick says, I live in Florida and the bugs are insane there. Some people make a lot of videos about bugs and call them UFOs. I have UFO bases around every outside light I have. The camera is low quality too on the first video. So a lot of people here, a lot of people in the comment sections are believing that it's that these are most likely either bugs or other, birds, things like that in those first 2 videos that we were talking about from the other day. Let's see. EA Quetting 5963 says, wow, thank you so much. I really appreciate how you are just trying to look for some answers and just trying to see what you can see. You're not pretending to be our guru. You're not writing letters to the president. You're just talking to us like a regular person, and I appreciate that. Now, hey, hold on a second here. Now, I may not be writing letters to the president, but I did last year send a letter to the Department of Defense and to the Department of Energy wanting answers. I let them know about the Vegas case, and I never got any answers from them. But no, I'm not a guru. Yeah, I'm not trying to be a guru. I don't want to be a guru. Okay, we're going to move over to Spotify and see what some of the comments are from there. Jason says, first light was definitely a bug. Irvin Connors III says, a mosquito-looking flyby, perhaps. Somebody else, a name that I can't pronounce because it's just a jumble of numbers and letters, says the green thing looks like flubber. Okay, he's talking about that thing there. That looks like flubber. And somebody else says bug flying close to the camera, and Elizabeth says it's a bug. So a lot of people think it's a bug. And then Scarlett asked this question. She has a different question for me. She says, Jim, I'm not sure what you think, but I'm convinced that some of the recent drones over America and the United Kingdom, etc., were being tested from the new F-47 plane announced in the White House. Whether these are from reverse engineering or from new tech, who knows? Also, I think there weren't just our drones, as the orbs look otherworldly. What do you think? Well, my idea on the whole drone situation was that I think that before people were talking about drones all the time, like in New Jersey and in other parts of the world, we were hearing lots of stories about orbs, and I think the drones may have been sent out to investigate the orbs. I mean, we might operate. It might be the military that's operating the drones, but they can't talk about them because the mission is top secret and classified. That's why they have to pretend that no, it's nothing. It's don't worry about it. And because they're worried about the orbs, they're just investigating the orbs. It could be, who knows? We just don't know. Here's what we do know, though. We do know that we're not alone. We have the absolute proof that shows that we're not alone. And sometimes these beings, they hide their craft inside clouds for some reason. And sometimes they make artificial clouds to hide in, too, as well. That's all we can say for today, I guess. But I want to thank you, everyone, for always commenting and voting on the polls that I put up there on Spotify. I guess you know what? While we're at it, I probably should get caught up on the recent polls. Okay, I guess we're gonna start. We're gonna go back all the way back to the episode. The human race is not prepared for open contact with extraterrestrials. I asked this question, and there's 41 votes so far. Is the human race ready to move ahead and open communications with our extraterrestrial / non-human intelligent visitors? 10 days left for this one. It's a very close one. 20 people or 48.8% say no, while 21 people or 51.2% say yes. So, very close one here. I say no. I agree with the minority, and it's not a minority by a lot either. I have to say no. I just don't think a lot of us are ready for this one. I just don't see it. I mean, could you imagine? Okay, just put yourself and think about this for a second. Imagine sitting in a room with a couple of your friends and some family members, and there's an alien creature in there trying to communicate with you telepathically. You're not going to be able to deal with that. Nobody is going to be able to deal with it. Just people have trouble just dealing with other people in this world. You think you're going to be able to deal with this? There's just no way. I just don't see it. I mean, it would be very, very. You'd be freaked out beyond imagination. Actually, to be quite honest with you. I don't think we're ready for open communication at this point in time. Okay, for the episode, report new UFO documentary Age of Disclosure, a hit at its Austin premiere. I asked this question, what initially got you interested in the UFO /ET /NHI subject? There's 39 days left on this vote. It's 39. There are 39 votes so far for this one, and there are 16 days left to vote. Okay, let's see here. 2 people or 5.1% say news report /article. 3 people or 7.7% say podcast discussion. Got them interested. Another 3 people or 7.7% say a book on the topic got them interested in this. 7 people or 17.9% say other. 11 people or 28.2% say TV /film documentary got them going. And then the majority, 13 people or 33.3% say personal experience /experiences. Yes, I have to agree with the majority. That's where I fall. That's what got me going was personal experiences. The 2 biggies for me, the creature with the 3 digits back in the 70s, and then in 1994 during the fishing trip where I saw one of the craft up close and personal along with another witness. Yes, personal experience for me as well. And I just want to also point out, that was regard to that that episode I was talking about that Age of Disclosure. There's still no word on when that's going to be available to stream or if it's going to be any movie theaters. Or I really want to see this. A lot of people, I would say, a lot of the people who've seen it are really speaking highly of it, and they think it could have an impact on disclosure. We'll see. I can't wait to see it. So once I do see it, I'm sure I'll do a review on it. We'll talk about it. Anyway, moving on. For the episode, Dr. Greer's UFO letter to the White House /MIB show up 6 years after teen sees UFO and demand photo. I asked this question, is Dr. Stephen Greer the world's leading UFO expert and by a wide margin? 49 votes so far with 19 days left. Only 8 people or 16.3% say yes, he is the world's leading UFO expert and by a wide margin. While the vast majority, 41 people or 83.7% say no. No, he's not. No, I agree with the majority here. No, he's not. No. Okay, for the episode, Tic Tac UFO on Mars discovered /retired government engineer says aliens are here to take over. I asked this question. Do you believe the alien presence on Earth has ever made any deals with one or more of the planet's governments? 57 votes so far with 19 days left. Only 18 people or 31.6% say no, while 39 people or 68.4% say yes. So a majority of people believe that a deal has been made by one or more governments with aliens. I see. I know a lot of people in the UFO community believe this, but I'm going to go with the minority on this one because I just have not seen any sort of evidence that makes me believe that that's real. There's been a lot of different things. A lot of different people have talked about this. There must have been some kind of a deal made, they say, because remember the late Phil Schneider? He was talking about battling aliens underground and all that. There's just not enough for me to think that's. I just don't see with these beings doing that. I don't see it wouldn't serve them any purpose. I don't think. And why they don't need to do that. I mean, when you're that advanced, why would you need to make any deals with the dumb animals? It just doesn't make sense to me. That's why I just always have trouble believing that one. And there's just not a lot of evidence that shows that something like that really did happen. Like Eisenhower met with aliens. There's just not a lot of stuff out there, folks. They're just not. There's a lot of proof that shows that we're not alone. There's a lot of proof, a lot of things out there that show that these creatures are here for sure. We already know that. There's how many of us out there have had personal experiences. So yeah, they're here. There's no question about it. But the government meeting with them and making a deal. What kind of a deal? What kind of a deal would need to be made? These things, they don't need to make deals with humans. For what? I just don't believe it. But most people do. Okay, for the episode Animals Mutilated by Aliens for Decades in Dartmoor / Giant Spider Seen on Pennsylvania Home, I asked this question. Who or what is responsible for cattle mutilations at Dartmoor? 30 votes so far with 24 days remaining. Okay, 0 people say Satanists. 0 people say animal predators. Only 1 person or 3.3% says weather event. 1 person or 3.3% say pixies, gnomes, or elves. 2 people or 6.7% say other. 3 people or 10% say government agents, while the vast majority, 23 people or 76.7% say ET/NHI creatures. I am most certainly with the majority on this one, because that's what it is. And it was very nice to see that Satanists and animal predators got nothing. Got nothing. Everything else should have got nothing, because we all know what it is. We all know what's going on. We know what's responsible for these mutilations at this point. I mean, how stupid are we going to continue to be here? I mean, it's time to wake up and smell the roses here already. We know what's going on. Why do we have to act so stupid about it all the time? All right, for the most recent episode, Mystery Objects Captured on Florida Beach Webcam, I asked this question. What is the most likely explanation for the objects captured on the beach webcam in Florida? Okay, there are 25 votes so far. Okay, 0 people say hoax. 2 people or 8% say ET/NHI. 6 people or 24% say natural phenomena / weather. 8 people or 32%, 8 people or 32% say video glitch, and then 9 people or 36% say other. Yeah, as far as that, the webcam in Florida, I think you're looking at most likely a prosaic explanation. And I think with the second video that we were talking about there, I don't have a question for that one. The cruise ship one with what looks like probably a bird, I think it's probably a bird. That's what I think it is. As for the Sweden thing, right, I don't know. Could have been, who knows? Could have been some sort of a weird creature that's just not cataloged by science at this point, or it could have been some sort of alien creature for some, who knows? The people that saw it in Sweden back in 1987 were freaked out by it. We just don't know. But we do know this. We do know that there are things here. Sometimes we make mistakes. Sometimes we see things and we think they might be alien, but then we find out, oh, it's probably just an insect, or it could be a bird. We're just not sure. But then there's other instances when we know for a fact that it's non-human intelligence. There are cases like that too. And I believe that cloud story from 1973 that we were talking about most certainly involved alien creatures. There were multiple witnesses. It wasn't just the one woman. There were multiple people that were interviewed for that. Obviously, there was some sort of a craft hovering outside of those homes, and who knows what they were up to, probably abductions. But yeah, we're not alone. That's the bottom line. People are continue to lie to us about this. The governments continue to lie about it. But hey, what are you going to do? All we can do is just to keep talking about it. Keep trying to tell people the truth about what's going on. That we are definitely, there's something here with us. We don't know what they're up to. There's something here at all. There's no question about that part, folks. No question about it whatsoever. Anyway, I want to say thank you all for joining me today. Until next time.